Hey there, welcome back. Nicole Holland here. I'm super excited to have you with us as I introduce you to the man behind the company that I hired to help me get great team members on my team. To help me build my business like a rock star and faster and easier and better than I had been doing before. So his name is Tim Francis. He is the founder of Great Assistant, which helps entrepreneurs get a great assistant. For 5 years, he failed again and again with assistants, and then he finally cracked the code. His current assistant now handles 95% of his email inbox, among other things, and has allowed him to focus on bigger opportunities. He has since appeared on Inc.com as a regular contributor to Forbes and has been a guest lecturer at NYU in New York City. I also want to mention that this is one of a couple interviews that we're doing together on the Nicole Holland Show. So Tim also has a master class, which is unbelievable, so helpful. So in any case, however you want to hire, it will give you so much value. So definitely check that masterclass out. But today we're going to specifically talk about his service, which when I met him in early 2018 was such a godsend because I was at my wit's end having interviewed, not just interviewed, but hired and fired many assistants. And I just felt like crap. I just felt like, what is wrong with me? I had 3 different mentors giving me their hiring system and advice. I inquired to friends, how are you making this work? I tried to figure it out and everything. And even when I had an assistant for 14 months, which was going well, I also helped her build her business. So I built myself out of her business and just made like every mistake that you could possibly make with people management because I didn't know any better. It's not my zone of expertise or genius by any stretch of the imagination. So when I met him at a party that we were both at, it was extremely late at night on the Pacific Coast, and I'm coming from the East Coast. So I was like completely exhausted. But I knew that when we met, I was like, okay, this is what I came here for, this connection, and this man is going to help me make some big changes. And we talked about it the next day, I hired him, and since then we've been working together, and it's been incredible. And so that's why, even though most of these resource share episodes are really SaaS companies, so things that you can, solutions that you can get online, I wanted to have him here to talk about his service called Great Assistant because it's one of the best investments I've ever made in my business. So welcome, Tim.
Oh my goodness. What do I say to that? I'm like, I just feel so filled up. I just, years ago when I started the company, it was a dream that I'd be able to hear what you just said. So I thank you so much for sharing what you shared, to know that the impact of what my team and I do is just reverberating, into you, into the clients that you serve, and that like together we're really making dreams come true for everyone, including the assistants for that matter. So
yes,
thank you. I'm going to share your kind words with my team because I know it's fuel for their fire every single day.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad, and I'm tearing up a little bit. So let's stop getting sappy and get down to the nitty gritty here. So tell us in a nutshell, or as clearly as you want, actually, it's probably better clearer than in a nutshell. What is Great Assistant in terms of the service that you provide? Who do you provide it for? And who is this not for? Not that they're not amazing people, but this just isn't the right time for them to work with you.
Great. So first of all, we are a company based in Canada and the United States, and we only serve entrepreneurs who are also based largely in the United States or Canada. Obviously, if you travel a bit around the world, that's fine. But wherever your home base is, it needs to be the United States or Canada. And a big part of that reason is I've tried hiring assistants overseas before. I've done the Philippines for $4 an hour. I've done India. I've done Pakistan. I've done Iran. I've done Jamaica. On and on and on and on. And when there's a radically different time zone, it just isn't sustainable for having your executive assistant to be so far away. So our service is only for entrepreneurs that are based largely in the United States and Canada. Secondly, we only hire virtual assistants. Now, maybe you have a storefront, or maybe you have some kind of like a physical in-person, face-to-face experience with your clients. We do, however, only place assistants and only virtual assistants. So if you're looking for someone to come sit next to you in your office, we are not the service for you. Thirdly, we are only hiring assistants that are coming like out of corporate America or professional America or government America. They're going to have a certain level of fit and finish. They are not your $10 an hour assistant. So it's, our service is more so for an entrepreneur that's probably a little more serious and committed to, their entrepreneurial journey and path. We're probably not a fit if someone views their business purely as a lifestyle business. They just want to make their 5 or 10 grand a month and throw their hands up and do as little as possible. Because getting a great assistant doesn't require you to be a great leader. And so that's also why our service is 3 tracks. It's a done for you service. We take care of everything when it comes to screening and finding your great assistant. We'll look at 50 to 100 different candidates, and we will work to find the custom best perfect match for you. And from there, you get to choose from 1 to 3 finalists, which one fits the best. So that's actually only one part of our service though. Because getting a great assistant is so heavily dependent on you being a great leader, we actually do also include, at no extra charge in our service, some training on management and leadership, how to unpack your brain, how to find the first few tasks to delegate, and what kind of meeting rhythm should you have with your assistant each week, what format to follow, and all the rest. And the third part of our service, which also is included at no extra charge, is some coaching consulting. And so we know that the first 90 days are absolutely crucial between an entrepreneur and their assistant. And so once you get matched with your great assistant, you meet them, you approve them, you say, yep, let's go. This is my person. Then from there, someone from our team will actually get together with you to do what we call delegation sessions. And so someone from our team will actually get on a live call with you and your assistant in a 2-on-1 environment to hear about what are your first few tasks, how do we make sure that those get passed off, hear what the assistant's questions or frustrations are, to really make sure that you have some early wins. And those early wins are just so crucial for your assistant to gain competence and for you as the entrepreneur to gain confidence. Because we know the number one frustration and challenge that entrepreneurs have is releasing control and trusting an assistant. And so we help to bridge that gap.
Excellent. And so when somebody starts working with you, can you talk a little bit about the onboarding process? Because that's great that you search for 50 to 100, or search through 50 to 100, but how do you figure out first what I want before you even start doing that?
So there's the part that as the entrepreneur, and because I've been that entrepreneur, I know that I want someone to help me with uploading podcast episodes, or I want someone who's going to help me with invoicing. Like, there's the things that we know, and there's also some things that we don't know that we don't know. So for example, most entrepreneurs don't realize that the Colby Index is incredibly telling, and what Colby score should we be looking for. So that's the part of the expertise that we bring to the table. And it's kind of one of those things that we don't need to know everything about how surgery works, or we don't need to know about every part of how the car works. So we bring that to the table. And along those lines, there's just patterns. There's patterns that we've observed from now hiring close to 200 assistants. So I'm totally forgetting your question, Nicole.
Not a problem. It's just really about that. How do we get started? So for example, when I wanted to hire you, we had to sit down and, talk through a bunch of things, because you had to make sure I was ready for you and I was a right fit for you. And I needed to be sure and confident that you guys were a right fit for me. And I can tell you from that experience, just from the sales conversation, that your fee threw me for a loop for a minute. And I had to really consider in my head, I was like, all right, well, if is this worth it? Because this is just for hiring. So you guys do support, but beyond that, I've got to actually pay my assistants. So I had some questions and thoughts in my head that through through that sales conversation, there were things I needed to think of. And for me personally, the thing that made it a no-brainer was your 90-day guarantee. So when you, because that's the thing is historically is I would hire people and it may seem like, wonderful for a while and then they disappear. And I had just had a similar situation where I did use one of the, a service that just does the matching, because you're not a matching service, but there's a lot of matching services. And I had hired a matching service and I was so excited about the matching service because I got this great match and she seemed like she was a great fit. And then all of a sudden, once things started getting to a groove, she had lots of emergencies and lots of things coming up and lots of reasons. And then I was noticing things not getting done and all the stuff. And so that was my fear, like, well, what if that happens again? And so, yeah, so you guys have a guarantee. So if we can talk through really from like a starting point, I got the guarantee sold me, and then you did training I had to go through before I could move forward. I had to answer questionnaires. I had to take the Colby assessment. So all these things. And you also wanted me to, or, your process, the thing I believe, wanted me to be able to articulate the first tasks that I needed outsourced before you guys even would really get started with me. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's some a couple big picture exercises for that you completed and all of our clients complete, including like a core values exercise. Like oftentimes we finish reading books like the E-Myth or Work the System or other systemization books, and oftentimes we think a lot about procedures, like do this, do that, do this, do that, and that's fine and that's great and that's important at the right time, and that's also very much kind of like the hands and feet. Like one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham, talks about, the difference between an employee or a contractor who's here with their hands and their feet versus someone who's here with their head and their heart. And so if we want someone who's going to be more than just hands and feet, if we want someone who's actually going to be able to think and make decisions on your behalf, we need to tell them how to make those decisions. And a big part of that is understanding, like, what are Nicole Holland's core values? And if we can get some of those down on paper and Nicole Holland looks down and goes, oh yeah, that is what's most important to me. Now we can actually teach our people, teach our new assistant how it is to actually think like you. So you don't have to babysit them every single day for every single week of every single year that they work for you.
Awesome. Yeah. So, so then I don't know if you want to share a screenshot to show what that kind of onboarding looks like a little bit, or if you want to just explain kind of I've already given my side of like how it works, and at least from the beginning, if you want to talk about essentially why you're the best, why if somebody is looking for an assistant, they need to consider your company.
Sure. Okay. So I think that...
And I'll just preface this to say, like, Tim is not comfortable with this because we tried doing this interview before, and he's very humble and he wants everybody to take away value with just him sharing and not making, quote, a pitch, But what I've explained is that the resource sharing episodes are for that. That's the purpose of these, because I want to expose my audience to people who could have saved me so much heartache and time and money and all of the things. And so people are listeners, if you're listening and you're like, I don't want to hear about this, then don't listen. Again, we did another episode that's a masterclass that is all content. So Tim shares lots and lots of his wisdom and breaks down his process that you can actually steal and go to yourself. But in this episode, Tim, I'd really love for you to share that if somebody is in that pain spot that I was in when I found you and that you were in before you created this company, I want them to get the nitty gritty, just know what's up and how to move forward if this sounds like it's something for them.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want entrepreneurs to win, you know? And so anything I can do to help, I'm just so passionate about that. So thank you for this opportunity. So yeah, I'll share my screen here. And I think this is kind of the lay of the land. And I think it's just a matter of deciding where you fit into this rubric. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I think this is kind of the lay of the assistant land. And so for those of you who are listening and you can't see the screen, there's two axes, and it's a chart of sorts. And so on the left side, we've got how hard. We've got really simple stuff like a task, and then the next level up is a simple decision. Next level up is a hard decision. At the very top is an outcome. A simple task, a super easy task, could be something like data entry. A super hard, something that's much more difficult is an outcome. So me saying to my assistant, here's a $31,000 budget. Go plan our annual event where people are flying in from around the world. And I want you to take care of booking every hotel room, flight, pen, lanyard, workbook, food, AV, everything for this event. Go get it, right? And she's basically like an event manager at that point. And so there's there's various levels. And then from there, that's the y-axis. The x-axis is how often are tasks happening, daily, weekly, monthly, or annual. And if you only have super simple tasks like data entry, photo editing, like basic photo editing, any like transcription, like super simple tasks, then in that case, overseas could be a good option for $4 an hour to the Philippines, something like that, especially if it's someone that you don't need a lot of interaction with. Like you don't think that you'll be able to just ping someone overseas and, you know, within an hour, you're going to get a response reliably. Now I get it. I totally get it. There are some overseas companies that work North American hours and whatnot. However, those are not usually the $4 an hour assistants. Oftentimes you're paying north of $10 an hour, $15 an hour for those services, in which case, why would you just pay the extra $1 or $2 per hour and go North American? So, you know, I think that's a great fit for overseas. I think as soon as you want to start having not just like someone to do some simple tasks, but if you want someone who can actually make some decisions on your behalf, someone that you could let work independently, someone who could maybe even start carrying the business a bit if you're going to take a weekend off or a week off or something like that. We really need someone who's similar, same time zone, similar, same culture, and same first language. If you can nail those three things, it immediately eliminates like 90% of the headaches that comes from working with people who are not in your same country or same continent. And so, that being said, I think there's a really big difference between a North American assistant who's, say, 22 years old, just out of college, not sure what they want to do with their life, is, you know, in that exploration, wants to go travel for a while to learn who they are, is just kind of trying this assistant thing out, not married, no kids, like kind of just in that in-between stage, you know, or someone who is North American who wants to be an assistant, but they're building their own business and they've got multiple assistants underneath them. Like it's just not the same as getting someone who wants to be your assistant, is based in North America, and wants to be with you long term. As soon as you've got someone who wants to be a long-term great assistant for you, all of a sudden things change. When you in your mindset go, I'm willing to make at least a 3-year commitment, and it doesn't have to be a legal agreement, but just in your head, you're like, you know what, the next person I get, I'm going to hire them for at least 3 years. All of a sudden now you're excited to train them because you want them to get really good because you know you're going to get a ton back from them. They also are thinking in terms of like, my kids are 5 and 8, they're going to be 8 and 11. Do I still want to do this? And so we're a lot slower to hire, and the assistants are a lot slower to say yes when we've got that frame of 3 years. And to me, on my journey, I started with the $4 an hour assistants in the Philippines and the $15 an hour or 10 to 15 in India. And I realized that in the beginning, it sounded like a good idea, and it was good for just a couple little things here and there. But I completely missed out on the compound interest of having a North American long-term great assistant, someone that I could teach them something today and they would repeat doing that for like the next 5 years, and I wouldn't have to reteach them. There's no Groundhog Day here where you have to keep going back to the start and be frustrated that you're constantly having to hire new people, constantly having to teach new things. And so actually right now, not only do I have one long-term great assistant for myself, her name is Sarah, my assistant now has an assistant, her name is Courtney. And so we actually now have the queen bee, Sarah. She's the one who oversees, manages, and has trained the second assistant. So how much leverage do I get when I've got one assistant who's now training the next assistant, and I don't have to do a single moment of training of that newest assistant? Because guess what? My assistant is taking care of it. Sarah is training Courtney. And that's just a simple example of like the momentum, the flywheel effect, the compound interest that comes from someone being long-term. And so, I get it. Like, I get it that there are some business types and some tasks within those business types that overseas $4 an hour just makes sense. And I tip my cap to the folks who can make that work. I've been there, I've done that. And, where I think the greatest impact is, especially if you've got a business of less than 5 people, you've got a business that's like less than a few $1 million in sales. We really, the first or one of the first hires we need is a mini-me, someone who can be the second half of my brain, who I can just say, I want to go to Chicago for this event. Can you take care of the rest? And because I've trained them on how to book flights, how to find accommodations, how to arrange ground transportation, how to set up my Evernote with my itinerary. So all I have to do is open up Evernote once and everything I need is there. I don't have to bounce between the American Airlines app and the Airbnb app and the car rental app. No. Someone who can make my life is streamlined, low friction, low drag, and I can just focus on showing up and being the surgeon in the room, not trying to be the surgeon and the nurse and the administrator and the janitor and the. And I just don't know how anyone can do that without someone from the same time zone, same culture, same first language, who's got a long-term commitment to you and wants to be in the system and also has like at least 5 years of experience from corporate America or professional America or government America. Like some of the assistants that we're hiring, like former project manager from Coca-Cola, former executive assistant to to an executive at Merrill Lynch, like a multi-billion-dollar company, right? Sarah herself was a former paralegal in a busy law firm. Like when you've got someone who knows how to deal in business terms and has fit and finish like that, the ceiling of what's available to you as an entrepreneur just totally goes through the roof. When you've got someone who says, oh yeah, I can take care of that for you, it's a total game changer. And I just don't know how you can do that without everything that I've shared. There's a reason we've built the great assistant that we have. We want it long-term, North American, all the rest. And we need you to be a great leader. So that's why we include the training component as well. And we also need a great kickoff. And so that's why we have the coaching consulting that we offer. So, we aim to be basically like the white glove Starbucks experience. You show up at the first window, you say, I want an assistant. Then you drive to the second window. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. All the garden gnomes are running around Santa's workshop. You ride it at the second window. Voila, you have 1 to 3 assistants. You can pick which one suits you best. And if it doesn't work, it's on us. We carry all the cost, all the headache, all the heartache, all the financial impact, like buying more Colby tests and me as the owner having to pay more wages for our team to rematch. Like it's on us, right? So like Nicole said, it's one thing to say, hey, I want a great assistant from you guys. It's a whole other thing to say, I want the peace of mind just knowing this is taken care of. And that's our role. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you for that. And I'll also come clean and say that I had a really hard time letting you know that assistant number 2 wasn't the best fit for me because assistant number 1 was like on point perfection. And so I was just like, yes, let's do this again. And assistant number 2 wasn't as perfect, amazing person, but the fit between us just wasn't the best. And I got a lot of support from your team and I wanted to make it work and I felt really badly that I couldn't and finally said, I just can't do this. And your team was like, not a problem. We're going to replace that assistant. And then, went through the process, and I now have somebody who I'm so excited about, and who I feel like, oh, okay, who knows what will come, but I feel like she's my person. She's my right hand.
That's awesome. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, because maybe we haven't hired that many people before, we just don't realize the reality. Like hiring is like, so there's a Humetric study that was done, and less than 50% of hourly hires stuck. And that's even including corporate America. So like hiring is a very tricky, challenging thing. There's a reason that there's that expression that business would be easy if it wasn't just for the people, right? And by that, we mean the customers and our teammates. And so don't beat yourself up, and yeah, I'm speaking to you, Nicole, but I mean, everyone who's listening, don't beat yourself up if you have the wrong hire. Like, we're pros, and our success rate isn't 100%. The general public, the success rate's less than 50. Our success rate currently is sitting at 85%. And we understand if you end up, one of the assistants that you get through us is part of the 15% that isn't a hit, no problem. We'll take care of that. We want you to be at 100% one way or the other. We want you to focus on your zone of genius. And for a lot of people, hiring just is not that. So if we can help you shortcut the process, I'm super, super happy.
And this is why I'm super, super happy to share you and your service with my audience, because I've tested the guarantee. Not that I wanted to, but I have. And yeah. So if is there anything else I haven't asked you about that you get like frequently asked questions when people come to you?
Oh yeah, 100%. So a couple questions. One is who owns the relationship, if you will, right? So there are other matching companies out there, and what they do is they'll hire the assistant into their team, and then they'll just kind of like rent the assistant out to you. And so they'll charge you $29 an hour, but then they'll pay the assistant $19, and that's how they make a lot of their money, is the $10 an hour spread. And if that's the best fit for you, then great. Let's just make sure though that we're comparing apples to apples. Because if you hire an assistant, let's say 20 hours a week, and if you're paying a $10 an hour surcharge, that's $200 a week. You multiply that by 4 weeks in a month, that's $800 a month. You start multiplying that over 3 months, that's $2,400 over the course of a year. It ends up being like a $10,000 surcharge. A $10 an hour upcharge it adds up so incredibly quickly. And that's just for 20 hours a week. Like if you had someone on your team 40 hours a week, it'd be even more than that. So like, I understand for cash flow reasons, sometimes entrepreneurs would rather pay more if it gets spread over a bigger period. I just want to make sure that you're aware, whoever's listening, of the mathematics of that. We've hired close to 200 assistants now, and I've personally tested everything from $4 an hour in the Philippines to $100 an hour specialists in North America. And I can tell you that the sweet spot where you get far and away the best bang for your buck is $17 to $20 an hour. That's what the assistants that we hire are expecting. They're expecting at least 10 hours a week. So if you want like a couple hours a month, go to Fancy Hands, or go somewhere else where they're just going to help you do that one thing. We're hiring people that are here, and they want to be part of your growth, and they want to be assistants. They're not like entrepreneurs in hiding that are trying to like learn your business and go do it for themselves. No, they want to be assistants. And so I just think that what's really important is just to be clear about what is the model of the business that you're hiring to help you get an assistant. Is it a matching company? Is it a matching plus a training company and a consulting company like we're doing? And then also the billing. So I want to help entrepreneurs keep as much money as possible flowing towards the assistant, because then that means the assistant gets to work more hours, which then frees up the the entrepreneur to go be in their zone of genius. So I think that's an important question. And so through our service, you actually contract directly. You get to decide if it's W-2 or 1099. You get to determine the number of hours, as long as it's at least 10 hours a week, and you get to set the pay. The assistants are expecting $17 to $20 an hour for starting. And if you want that to go up over time, that's fine. We have lots of clients that their assistant was really good as a marketing assistant. And then after that, they graduated into being something more than a project manager. And they've gone up and up and up. And they've had to actually come to us because their assistant has worked themselves up the ranks. And now there was no executive assistant. So we had to help find a second assistant. And I think the record right now is someone's hired 6 assistants from us over time. So we're counting on you, Nicole, to break that record.
Oh, here's open.
I'll let you know that person currently is doing $1 million a month. So
Nice. Well, I would love to challenge that person.
You are well on your way.
Today, but it's on the horizon.
Yeah, you're well on your way.
Awesome. Are there any other FAQs that you get that might be worth mentioning?
Yeah. Sometimes people ask like what kind of psychometric assessments. So that's the fancy word for saying like, do we use personality tests or whatnot? We are using the Kolbe Index. Our team, we've got team members who are actually certified Kolbe consultants. I've been a little bit alarmed at times when I've seen some of the other claims that some other companies have made. They'll say, oh, that's a good Kolbe score, but they're not certified. And it's kind of like confusing. So I think that that's important to know. And we're also in our process, we're making sure that, ultimately we're making sure that you as the entrepreneur are also like identifying the right first task to hand off. Because you can have a great assistant, but if you say, oh, take over my entire email inbox, and if it's just too overwhelming for the assistant, then it can break down the relationship. So we want to make sure we get people at the right makeup, as tested through the right methods. We use work tests. We use the Kolbe Index. We've got some cognitive tests. We have some personality tests. We do interviews as well. Our process is about 50 to 100 hours, and we're looking at 50 to 100 applicants to get it down to just 1 to 3. Another question I oftentimes get is, hey, Tim, are we allowed to actually choose the assistant, or are you just like assigning someone? You get to choose. Like we have that initial meeting with you, just like you went through, Nicole. We get to understand who you are. You go through some tests as the entrepreneur, like your Kolbe Index and whatnot. And then from there, we're going to bring you 1 to 3 finalists. And then you get to pick which of the 1, 2, or 3 that fits best for you.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that Nancy is your team member that I deal with, and she will send me an email and say, hey, Nicole, I've got somebody for you. Would you like to take a look at this person? And then she'll send me their resume, and she'll send me their Kolbe match, and then also her notes from interviewing them. And then she, it's not like, here you go, Nicole, this is for you. It's like, what do you think? Do you want to meet them? And then she's very flexible. And there's been times I've said, no, I'm not really feeling this. And can you tell me kind of why you were thinking this is the right person? And then I've met with people who I'm like, on paper was like amazing. And then in our interaction, not so much. So she's been fantastic about like taking my feedback as well. And then, like I said, like the new one is, I'm very excited about. I feel like she's on point, like what I was looking for. And sometimes I can't always articulate exactly what I'm looking for because it's abstract, until we have something tangible. And so I love that your team is willing to work on, that collaboration piece and not just saying like, here you go, here's what you get. So.
Right. Yeah, there's we're very aware that the one part that we can't predict is like chemistry. And so we'll do the other 95%, and then we need to use the entrepreneur to just show up, meet the person, and see if you vibe.
Awesome. So if anybody is interested in learning more about your service or wants to hop on a call with you or somebody from your team and find out if it is for them, what's the next step?
So the next step is to head over to greatassistant.com/apply. Again, that's greatassistant.com/apply. And once you go there, you'll have an opportunity to schedule a session with us. And in that session, a few things will happen. Number one, we'll answer whatever questions you've got. And secondly, we're going to be watching and listening for a few different things. One is timing, and the other is return on investment. And so because I got my first assistant too early, I know what it's like when you're not quite making enough money, or, it's just your business still isn't defined enough. Like, I know what that feels like. And I also know what it feels like to work with a client who they should have gotten an assistant like 6 months ago. And it's like long overdue. So we'll help you assess if the timing is right for you to get an assistant by asking a handful of questions about what's going on in your business and whatnot. And the second thing is it's really important that this assistant is actually profitable for you. We don't want to have to go through our whole process and for you to pay the money for us to do that and all the rest, only to discover that you're not really going to make it profitable. So we've got a handful of questions we ask there as well, just to hear kind of where things are at, to ensure that you've got the best chance at success, that this person will not just be a cost for you to pay $17 to $20 an hour for, but you'll actually get like a profit, like a return on investment. And those are the two things we're listening for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope this was helpful for people. If you are in the space that I was in, where I'm like, I just need something to give right now. Like I need somebody who's helping me, not hindering me. Then, I hope you got some good direction here today, and definitely check out Tim's masterclass session as well on the Nicole Holland Show, where he digs in deeper and actually walks through the process to help you understand how you can implement it yourself if hiring a great assistant isn't a right fit for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this opportunity to be here, Nicole. And also, I'm just so proud of you. Like you're such a success story.
Oh.
And just watching you soar, I know that we've only known each other for a year and a half or so. But it's like how dogs, it's like one of their years is like 7 years or however that is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's cat years and 1 year is 6 years or whatever that is. It's like 1 month of like normal human life is like 6 months for Nicole Holland, because you're just growing like as a human and your business so quickly. So like you're really pushing the pace on yourself, and I admire your courage and your commitment and your dedication to your craft and to yourself. So keep up the great work. I'm cheering you on.
Thank you so much.